What about the present perfect? We use the auxiliary have or has plus the past participle. We use the present perfect for activities and states completed recently or at an indefinite time in the past. I've just visited China. I know a lot of Chinese words now. So the trip is finished. He knows a lot of Chinese words because of the experience, and so I've just visited. Lots of times when we use it with the word just to show how recent this action was. He's written 30 pages of the book. It tells how much he's written, and he may continue to write more. I've traveled to China twice. This tells how many times. So this tells how much, and this one tells how many. Why? Because pages is a count noun. That's how much. Oh, sorry, that's not really what I'm trying to tell you. Sorry about that. He's written 30 pages of the book, tells how much of the book. And traveled to China twice means how many times. Both of these indicate that it happened before now at an unspecified time. It's possible it might reoccur. Now, the present perfect is also used to show activities and states beginning in the past and continuing in the present. For example, I've known about it since last week. Now remember, the verb know is a stative verb. I know something now. And I have known about that since last week. So we don't use it in the continuous. He's had the same teacher for 2 years. When you use the word have or has, for most meanings, it's a stative verb. For example, I have a cold. That's why I'm talking like this. I have a cold. Don't say I am having a cold. That is not correct. It's a stative verb, so I use the word have. All right? She has this teacher. Oh, how about Angela? She has had me as a teacher. This is the 3rd time. She's had me as a teacher for 3 semesters. All right? So we use this to indicate how long something has happened, and still continues if it's a stative verb. Now, the present perfect is used to show how something that happened in the past relates to the present. So remember, there's a connection from the past to the present. It provides background information for present events and situations. It's also used for recent and indefinite past time. So the present perfect is used to talk about activities and states that were completed recently or at an indefinite time in the past. These sentences can answer the questions how much or how many times. So, how many times have you seen that movie? I know you love that movie. I have seen it 3 times, 4 times, 10 times. All right, so you could say, how much of the book have you read? I have read 2 chapters so far. Now, because it is a present form, the present perfect is not used with specific time markers in the past. So that's when you don't use yesterday, 2 days ago, last month with the present perfect. So here we have examples of incorrect sentences. I visited China last year. That is incorrect. You could make this better by getting rid of the have and just say, I visited China last year. Another one is, he's written 30 pages of the book last night. That's incorrect because you have last night. You can edit this by getting rid of the has and just say he, and then we need to change it to the past form. He wrote 30 pages of the book last night. Now, it's also used for continuing past time. What does that mean? It means the present perfect can be used to express activities that began in the past and continue up to the present, usually with some time expressions like for, since, or all. And these can answer the question, how long? Stative verbs like be, have, and know, and other verbs that express duration like wait and keep are commonly used with this meaning. Other verbs that express completion are not used with for and since. For example, I live in Sunnyvale. What is the verb? Live. And then you could ask me a question. How long? How long have you lived in Sunnyvale? You don't want to say how long do you live, right? We say how long have you lived in Sunnyvale? I have lived in Sunnyvale since 1980. Since 1980. So notice that time marker tells the beginning, time. If I use the word for, then how do I finish the sentence? I've lived in Sunnyvale for... Can you calculate it? Don't use since. I already gave you that example. Now I'm asking you to make a sentence with for. For a long time. For many years. If you want to calculate it, how many years has it been? 34, over 30 years, right? All right, okay. Not a math class. I won't test you on your math. Okay, here's another example of an incorrect use. I've read this book for 2 hours. That's incorrect. So we need to say, I've been reading this book for 2 hours. Because the word read is an action verb, not a stative verb. Okay, so there's a difference in type of verb. I'm reading this book. Don't bother me. Go away. Oh, haven't you been reading that book for a long time? How long have you been reading that book? For 2 hours. I've been reading this book for 2 hours. And I'm still reading it. I still want to read it. Go away. Okay, so that is present perfect continuous. If you want to show that the action is still occurring. If you want to put it in the past, like this, I read this book for 2 hours, then it has a different meaning. I read this book for 2 hours means what? 2 hours ago. No, it does not mean that. It means it happened for 2 hours somewhere in the past. Maybe I started at 6 o'clock and ended at 8. Or maybe it was last week and I read it for 2 hours and I haven't touched it since then. So it has no relationship between now and how long ago it occurred. It only tells you the duration of time, and the time is in the past, finished. I read it for 2 hours, and then I decided I wasn't interested, so I didn't pick it up again. That's a possible scenario.